What? Oh my God. What happened? Hello, everyone. I think I pressed the pedal. It didn't do the intro. Hold on, hold on. Exceed said I need to wait for it to finish. Hold on, it needs to loop. Can you hear me? All right, wait, it's nearly finished. Hold on, wait for it. Wait for it. Professional streamer here, ladies and gentlemen. Professional streamer. Ready? Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome in. You haven't seen me today. Woo, 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 woo. Hello. Sorry about that. Hello, everyone. How you doing? Happy Wednesday. Well, today we are making some Sheng bao, which is going to be the website recipe for next week. We've got some apple tea cake as well, because I want to reshoot the photos of that. But first we're going to make some porridge, some paraga, as we call it in our house. We're going to have to make some breakfast for Exceed. Before we get into today's stream, let's go back to last time on. This is what we did. These are the professional photos. You can see them close up if you want to go to Twitter. And that's me. We did our second Redfall stream on Monday, which was really cool. Lobster rolls and smoky vampire ribs. We had the possibility, we had the great pleasure of having early access to the Bite Back Smoky Rub. There was a collaboration between Redfall, Bethesda, and Smoky Q, which is a spice mix company, like a kind of like smoked meats and things like that, to raise money for blood cancer. And I created 3 recipes for them. So the recipes are coming out soon. We're just waiting for Bethesda to release them. They're going to make them pretty. So you've got the lobster rolls. These are the smoky vampire ribs. They're the lobster rolls in like a black bun. And then we also had the cocktail as well. That's what we did on Friday. We did it on Monday's stream as well. Delicious, if I do say so myself. And we've had quite a few testers that have enjoyed them too. SpongeBob resub for 31 months, Nito Burrito tier 2 for 4 months, Liz 15 months, Sage 12 months, and Orioles tier 2 for 53 months. Thank you everyone for your support. We raised over $1,000 so far for charity. You can see down here, I've upped the goal so we can hopefully raise as much money as possible before end of Friday's stream. So thank you everyone for getting involved. !donate. Raising money for Game On Cancers and / Redfall, Bethesda. I've got some giveaways as well, so get involved. Nito, hope you're feeling better. I know you've got COVID, hope you're feeling better. Do you know I went to I went to the gym, day 2, my second gym session yesterday, and my Pilates instructor was there, and she rocked up and she said, my husband's got COVID. And I said, cool. Why, I wanted to say, why are you here? And because I went to bed last night, and I remembered this because I was coughing. And I thought, oh my God, maybe I have COVID. And I will be so angry. I don't think I do, but this time last year when I took my week off, which is we're going to stream today, we're going to stream Friday, and then I'm taking a week off stream. This time last year, I got COVID. And so my whole week off, I had COVID. Exceed and I had COVID. And it was the worst. And so if I got sick, I would be so angry. Now your mum will be playing games with you thinking you're sick. Lots of water and vitamin C. I've got my water. But we're going to do a deep dive into Discord, show what the community has been cooking and eating the last few days. We're going to make some porridge, oatmeal, for Exceed for breakfast. And then we're going to make the Sheng bao, which are like steamed, but then pan fried chicken. We do chicken buns because Exceed doesn't really like pork, but you can do pork, you can do turkey. Chicken is really yummy and they're like soft on the inside, filled with this beautiful mixture of meat and spring onions and sesame oil and whatever. And then they're slightly crunchy on the outside. They're delish. And then we're making apple tea cake because it is magnificent. I really want to rephotograph it, make it better, and show you how simple it is. So we're going to do a deep dive. Let's go. Please work, Mr. Mouse. There we go. So this is shaddy lasagna. Ooh, nice. Coming into the wintry months in Australia. Nice soul food. Looks good. Thanks for sharing, Chad. DeSoto was inspired by the Molly stream on Monday. The ribs yesterday inspired me to load up the smoker 10 hours at 70 degrees Celsius, made for some tasty bits and bobs. Look at that. Ribs, chicken in there. It's a big ass smoker. Dang. Look how good. I feel like, how do you control the temperature in something this big? Is this like a pellet smoker where or has it got like an offset? This is very cool. Good morning, Godbowl. How you doing? Oh, I didn't see the follow-up photo. Wow. That is a lot of comida, a lot of food. Thank you for sharing. Kate, chicken burrito bowls, and I also some meal prep for the next few days. I have late finishes in the city this week and don't want takeaway. So maybe extra burrito bowls and some teriyaki chicken and rice for lunches. That's cool. Nice. This looks really good. Carrot, tomato, a little bit of rice. I love burrito bowls. They're so good. So versatile. And then this is, yes, fantastic. Great work, Kate. Very proud of you. Nito Burrito likes a burrito bowl. Wouldn't have thought of it. This is Molly Brewery. So this is, I'm not very good. Like the rice was warm, so it was really awkward to shape. So don't blame me on that. But this is something that I ate at a sushi train way up in Perth. And it's amazing. So I've been trying to recreate it. And I just do a Molly version and I think it's pretty damn delicious. Exceed laughs at me because I like it so much. And I always do the same thing. But it's basically rice with like a soy, mirin, garlic sauce. And then you have really thinly sliced seared beef that's kind of rare in the middle. Kewpie, Japanese mayo, some red onion, spring onion, and then a little bit more of the sauce, the soy sauce with the mirin. It's very yummy. And so that's what it looks like, close up. Yeah. If you want to minimize dishes, you can make a bowl out of a tortilla. I've seen that. Yeah. Okay. Making the tortilla, and then you like break bits off and then like dip it into it's like walking nachos or whatever it's called. Stace, this is a frappe powder. They use it at Brooklyn Donut and coffee shops in Australia. Okay, Arcadia. Okay. Frappe and milkshake. All right. Espresso powder. Interesting. Okay. Nice. Thank you for sharing. I hope it's yummy. Shaddy, to settle those arguments between smooth and crunchy. Schmunchy. Interesting. Isn't that just crunchy then? If it's smooth and crunchy, it's just crunchy. because it's just like light on the crunch. And unsalted, yuck. Peanut butter has to be salted slightly. I have questions about that texture. This was our porridge yesterday. Great photo, Exceed. With his potato of a phone, this is a really good photo. Exceed has a really crap phone. This is actually a really good photo. They're usually like blurry and stuff. His phone broke, so he got a hand-me-down from my brother, I think. Because he just needs it to take take phone calls and stuff. It doesn't really, not like me where I'm always videoing and taking photos of stuff. This is good. So it was just regular porridge with a bit of brown sugar. Oh, no maple syrup. Mini Ghirardelli choc chips, chopped nuts, because they're the way to Exceed's heart. He really loves chopped nuts. And then raspberries. It was good. We're doing pan-fried buns, yeah. A wee coup or a small coup made my focaccia. This makes me want to make focaccia now. No, we're making buns. I was like, maybe we do half. I've got tomorrow off. I better not. Maybe I will. I don't know. Someone steer me. This is a great job. Great work. Looks fantastic. I reckon my home ec teacher would have been proud of Year 8 me's focaccia. Love it. Thank you for sharing. And hello. So this is from Beware. Cash register impulse fixture curiosity got me. Okay. Not bad, as if someone took a cheddar and sour cream chip, spritzed it with lime and put the slightest dusting of chili powder. Mexican street corn Cheetos. We don't have Cheetos like this in Australia, I don't think. Do we? We got the bowls, like the Cheeto bowls, don't we? I don't know. If I'm going to buy chips, I'm going to buy potato chips or like corn chips, probably. I don't really get Cheetos. They're usually not on sale either. But I'm more of like a salt and vinegar type gal or cheese twisties or plain corn chips to go with salsa. Yeah. I like the cheese and bacon balls. That's what we've got. Yeah. All right. Thank you everyone for sharing. Okay. So we're going to make some porridge and I'm going to show you my really cheats way of making porridge. We have, I think it's when you get to a certain age, if you like porridge, you get to a certain age that you have a porridge bowl or an oatmeal container that you cook it in the microwave in. My grandma has one. I'm pretty sure my mum has one. And it's a Pyrex dish. It's glass. And I think it's in the dishwasher. I don't want to take you into the pantry because I did clean the kitchen here from the Redfall stream, but I haven't cleaned the pantry. If you saw my Instagram, I was busy all day yesterday and I didn't clean the pantry, okay? So be prepared. I know that I didn't want to take you in here, but now I need to. Okay? By the time I cleaned the kitchen, I was too tired to clean the pantry. It's not hard to get off. It's just time consuming. So I'll do that later. Anyway, you've got your Pyrex bowl like this. You get your porridge. Pyrex bowl. Jar, well, whatever you call this. Hey-hoo! Okay, this is how you make cheats porridge. I do this most mornings. I don't measure. I just give it a few shakes. So I think, in my mind, I think of like the sachets, how much is in the sachet, and then kind of like double it plus a bit. So Like that is 1 serving for a person. And so then we'll go with that because I'm not really going to eat much today. So I better take it out. Mainly for Exceed. Okay. Nothing to see here, folks. Just pry open your heart and let me in. Okay. Sometimes I feel like some coconut, so I put some shredded coconut in there and just kind of pop that in. Then we do a portion of water and a little bit of milk. But I think today we'll just do water because we'll just think of it as we're making oat milk. All right. Like that, a bit more. And then we go into the microwave for 3 minutes. There we go. 3 minutes. Usually then I'll add some brown sugar. A very mathematical formula, yeah. 2 or 3 shakes. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. Very, very precise. It's still on my cabinets as well. Nice. It's insidious. It's insidious. The red paint gets everywhere. Red blood. Red blood gets everywhere. Okay. Then for porridge, the man and Exceed and I both like eating with small spoons. I don't know if you feel the same way, but we're pretty particular in a few things. When you open a vessel, like a yogurt or peanut butter, jam, you always need to have a clean utensil. So usually we get a big one. So one person gets the big one and then the leftover gets to choose the good small one. So vessels like that. And I'm always, majority like time doing this around there. Yeah, always quick oats, yep. If we've got banana, I use banana. If not, it's nearly always raspberries for me. I am a creature of habit. I like porridge with frozen raspberries and what's called dark chocolate, like 70% dark chocolate. It's my favorite kind of formula. Nuts in there, a bit of pecans or chopped peanuts are good. If we want to go, like I'm feeling that want a little bit of extra fillingness, I'll add peanut butter. Peanut butter has some like good fats in there. Will make you feel fuller for longer. And then we go pantre. Yeah, Quaker. Quick oats. Quick oats. This is peanut butter. And Exceed likes maple syrup, but I like brown sugar. What about you guys? How do you like your oats? Oatmeal porridge, how do you do? You can add a protein powder for sure. Let's do that. I've got some protein powder around here. This is Keep It Cleaner, vanilla protein powder. Are Quaker oats quick? Oh, I don't know. You'll know if they're thinner, thinner and like chopped up slightly. Rolled oats, I'll show you the difference of a quick oat versus a rolled oat. Quick oats are steamed and chopped up in the factory, so they do what it says, cook quicker. All right. Yeah, there's desiccated coconut, well not desiccated, shredded coconut in here already. I do sometimes add chia. Okay. Quaker oats has a few varieties, so read the label. Look at you guys. Okay. Let me show you. You can probably see from here, but this is a regular oat, like labeled rolled oats, right? It's a rolled oat. And these are quick oats. See the difference? These are quick oats because they're steamed and they're like pre-cooked and then they're chopped up. So I like these because they just cook quicker to make porridge, and they're smaller, so they're distributed within a dish easier. Even with making Anzac biscuits and like oatmeal cookies and stuff, I use these because they look nicer. Whereas these they're just flakier and they take up more room. The only reason I have these is because my mum gave me 3 packets. She didn't want to use them or something, and I got given them. If I wouldn't buy them. Once I bought the wrong packet, I took them back. There's just no substitute for me for quick oats. So yeah, little fun fact. See, don't tell me I don't teach you anything. Today's lesson is on oats. All right. Then we have our porage. Okay, so pretty uninteresting. This means that you just need to put more milk or butter, or no, some people put butter in it, but I mean milk or water. You can put choc milk in there if you want to go crazy. So everyone likes their consistency a little bit different. So this is porridge oats or quick oats. Some shredded coconut, unsweetened shredded coconut, and water. And then I cooked it for 3 minutes and I've just added some milk. But some people like it thick, some people like it a bit waterier. It's up to you, however you like. Okay, mistake number 1, I stirred it before I put peanut butter in, so now I need to get a new spoon. We don't like cross-contamination, okay? That's how you get mold in your peanut butter or your yogurt. Okay, so peanut butter, right? Just a little spoon, maybe like a tablespoon and a half, whatever you like. I just kind of like submerge it, and then it warms up and it's easier to stir in. You don't want to go too sweet, so half a tablespoon of brown sugar. And we're going to add some of this whey protein isolate, I think it is. Protein, yeah. It's just vanilla flavoured. These days you can get unflavoured if you don't, for cooking and whatever. And we're just going to, this is a little bit sweet as well, so you don't add too much. Oh, cool. I like to make savoury oatmeal. Ooh, see, never tried it myself. I'd like to try. I do like congee, which is like savoury, like rice pudding. Okay. Give it a stir. Like that. You don't really taste, that's the good thing about like cooking with protein powder. You don't really taste it. Oh my God, I'm spilling everything today. My granddad used to salt his porridge. Yeah, okay. I'm also big into minimising dishes. So I usually just eat out of here and I give Exceed the nice pretty bowl. Last thing we need to do, add in, either stir it in or put this on top. Bit of raspberries. Frozen raspberries are great. I prefer frozen raspberries rather than fresh ones. Unless I'm making like a cake and decorating it, I prefer the flavour of frozen raspberries. And they're cheaper, a lot cheaper. Okay. Oh, not really doing well with the mixing today. It's going everywhere. Okay, like that. And then you go in there. A little bit more into myself. How do you like your porridge? What do you do? I should start making overnight oats. I've tried overnight oats once, I think. I don't think I can do the texture and like the cold, soggy texture. even the overnight wheat bix. How many people have had it? I'm interested to know if you like it, if something that a recipe you recommend. Because, yeah, I'm not big on cereal because I don't like the soggy texture. Even with this, I like porridge. I like to have either chopped nuts or shredded coconut, some texture in there, because if you don't, it's a little bit how you going. Okay. I think we're going to do pecans today, ladies and gents. Okay. So this is my mess. Okay, that succeeds. So add a little bit of dark chocolate on there for him. The rest in for me. And chop these, or what I just used my Hulk strength, and I just squeeze them and they break up. Look at that, see? Beautiful. Was this the same bowl as yesterday? Hold on. Did I use the same bowl? Where's it, kids? Did I double? Where's the food that I made exceed? There. No, it's different. Okay. It's different. All right. No go to the overnight wheat bix, but overnight oats with honey and peanut butter, then slightly warm in the micro. Okay, so you've warmed it up. All right. I don't know if I've ever made myself actual oatmeal as an adult. Occasionally I'll buy the instant packets, and for those, my go-to flavors are peaches and cream. Peaches and cream. We have the apple brown sugar, I think, but never had peaches and cream. All right, that's for exceed. I'll be back in 2 seconds. Boop, 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 boop. All right. There's a really quick recipe in First Things First for porridge. I think it's banana pecan, raspberry pecan. Basically what I made today. There's a recipe in our cookbook First Things First. So go and check that out. Do it. Now we clean up. I don't always make this much mess. I'm talking to new people. People I can fool. I don't make mess. We were watching something. On TV, and Exceed paused it, and he said to me, "See, people can cook and not make mess." And I felt very, very attacked. Mess is just part of cooking process for me, and it's fun. That is true. Yes, I did bring my love of porridge, oatmeal, all in together as well. This one's really good. This is our second cookbook. Apple pecan in the pressure cooker and slow cooker. That's really good. Yeah. So you guys know. Look at that. That is delicious. In the pressure cooker or the slow cooker. Chunks and chunks. Chunks of apple cooked in and then apple on top with the pecans. Oh, yum. It's so easy. Or you could do that on the stovetop as well. So much stuff. I haven't made this artichoke dip in such a long time. Brody should do that. Hard-boiled eggs. Ooh, I was going to make that for my mum on Mother's Day. But the bloody Party lady. Oh, that's really good too. Rice pudding, you can have that for breakfast or dessert. My mum's in Melbourne. My mum's going to Melbourne next week. She'll be away for Mother's Day. She invited me for my birthday to go to Melbourne, but I just want to stay home. I turned down a trip to Melbourne. Who am I? Really? Chai spice rice pudding equals my favourite all-in together recipe. Really? Out of all of them? I like that, thank you. Boo, come to Melbourne. Well, it's because Exceed's working and I know I might be in the minority. It seems that a lot of people like to travel without their partners, and I love my partner, I love my husband, and I want to travel with him. I'm not saying you don't love your partner when whatever, but there's just something about birthdays. I don't want to be with anyone else. Like, I want to spend my birthday with Exceed, and I don't like going anywhere or sleeping without him. I leave my husband every opportunity I get. Maybe we've only been married a few years. I don't know. But yeah, like, it would have been nice going to Melbourne, but I also look at Melbourne differently from when I used to live there. Like when you're a West Australian and you go to Melbourne, you stay in the city and it's amazing, and it's, you know, you're eating out and whatever. But then when you live there in Victoria, like, it has this different take on it for you. Would you have flown? Yeah. Yep. So mum said to me she would pay for my airfares for my birthday, and I could stay in her room. I was like, oh, it's tempting, but yeah, I didn't really want to go for that long. Birthdays are slow, so everything's done at a different pace. Yeah. I don't really like that aspect though. Like, I like Melbourne. Yeah, so Perth is different than Melbourne. I don't like Sydney. I hated going to Sydney when living in Perth. I love, and that's the thing, is like, I love Melbourne itself. And I love traveling there. I love New York because of the hustle and bustle and the busyness and whatever. It's not that I don't like slow cities. I mean that, like, I don't see the going over to Melbourne to eat and things, like, without Exceed. The weekend would be like spending money and doing stuff that, like, we couldn't have enjoyed us together. I don't know. I like to move to a slower paced city. I like Brisbane because it's a city, but it's chilled. Yeah, nice. I'm not a fan of Sydney either. I just find the people a bit more up themselves in Sydney. It's just like, the people aren't as friendly, and I just don't see the appeal where, like, there's more culture and there's just like a more chill, not like chill, but like a nice vibe in Melbourne and even Brisbane. I just like, I think I've just got a bit of a chip on my shoulder as well with Sydney, that there's so much to Australia and how vast Australia is and how incredible it is. And people come, they fly to Sydney and they check Australia off their bucket list and bang, been there. And it's like, no, you've been to one city. Like, that's not Australia. And I think I just have a chip on my shoulder for that. I'm sorry, Sydney. I do love you. But if you're going to come to Australia, don't go to Sydney. Or go to Sydney and then go to other places. There's more to see. Molly lost a quarter of her. Like, people go to the opera house. It's like, people go to they go to Italy. They've been to Italy. They go to Rome. Just like, Rome is I didn't like Rome very much, but it's very touristy, and people go to the tourist areas, and that's like, that's not really the country. It's like the country who have put their best behavior on and like wrap themselves up to look nice for the tourists. And like that, for me, when like my personal experience, like my love of travel is going to the smaller towns and the off the beaten track, and being in a place where the locals go and things like that. Like, you want to see the city, like the countryside, or like you want to see the country, rather than go to a party where everyone's dressed up and putting on their best behavior to show off what they want the country to look like. Do you know what I mean? I'm the same. I like the authenticity. Yeah, I didn't like Rome. I just felt like Rome was really. There was parts of it that were nice, but there was a lot of tourists, like traps, and there was a lot of people like trying to sell you Chinese knockoff handbags or like pickpocket you, and I just felt like it was just really overpriced because it was like a tourist hotspot. And that's what I'm really conscious of planning our trip to Japan. Anytime I travel, I've been to Europe, I've been to the US quite a few times, traveled quite a bit by myself, and I like to. Like, my favorite place was like getting lost in Florence and going to this really small town that I forget the name in Italy. And it was just wonderful, just being able to really see no tourists around and just enjoy how the other people, like the normal people, live. And that's the best thing. I hate seeing tourists when I'm on vacation. Yeah. You want to feel like you're the only one just hanging out with the locals. Venice is very much the same. I was watching an Instagram story yesterday or the day before about Venice. And they were saying that Venice there's only 49,000 people or something in Venice, like locals now. And a lot of it is tourists that come in and then leave the same day. And their whole economy is really struggling. And they said that once the population goes below 40,000, they're going to struggle because there's just not enough to sustain Venice as a city or something. It was really interesting. I probably want to do my research and learn a bit more about it. But they were saying that, the people come in for the day and go, and the people that own the Airbnbs or the hotels really aren't supported because there's not enough turnover, or people only stay one night, where, they're saying that like that the way that goes, people aren't covering their costs, for one night of accommodation and hosting people. I think that it's the hard thing with tourism, where people come, they want to see something and then they leave, and the locals really are the ones that lose out. You know what I mean? It's hard to live there where you've just got tourists around. Like, that's not enjoyable for people. You grew up there, and now that it's a tourist place, that like, screw you, I suppose. Yeah, flooded, and sometimes the tourists are disrespectful. They leave trash and they make noise because they're on holiday. Screw everyone else. That's really hard. But there are sometimes, you want the best of both worlds. Like, you want to be able to go to Tokyo and you want to do the touristy things, but what Tokyo is known for, but you also want to have an authentic experience, and it's you can't have one without the other. I don't think. My international travel was solely done as a 10-day choir trip. I think they did a good job of trying to make it fulfilling experience. Yeah, because you still want to go over there and, you know, try some fancy things. Like, I don't want to go to Disneyland. I'm not a massive fan of Disneyland, the expense of it. We might go to Universal, but I don't enjoy lining up and doing Disney stuff enough to, I think I might be in the minority there. I've been to Disneyland in California and I've been to Disney World in Florida, and I think that I'm Disneyed out. Like, if there was no one around, yeah, I'd love to go, or it was on a really low time. But the way that Disney is designed is to make you feel incredibly out of it, and really like out of the loop, or really like a shit human being if you don't buy all of the novelty and knickknacks and of the experiences and things like that. And that, for us, when we were in Disneyland or Disney World, was really uncomfortable. Like, we wanted to go and we wanted to enjoy ourselves, and we felt like you had to pay through the nose for everything to feel like you were having that Disney experience, and we didn't. And it didn't really, like, it kind of left a bad taste in your mouth. Whereas I had the most amazing experience when I was a single lady, maybe 10 years ago, before a few years before I met Exceed. I went to Universal Studios in the US, and I had the most amazing time. I did a VIP experience. It cost maybe like $500 or something. You do a massive tour of like behind the scenes of Universal, and then you get like VIP entry to like a fast pass to the rides and stuff. You feel like a superstar, but it's so worth it because you get to go on the rides, skip the lines, and it made the experience a lot better. And I saved up for ages to be able to have that experience, and it was really, really good. I heard that Disneyland Singapore is supposed to be a good experience. Okay. I don't see the attraction of theme parks. Yeah. We went to Knott's Berry Farm when we were in in LA, and that was really fun. You know, you have the rides and things like that, but not the pressure of, I don't know, I'm not hating on anyone that loves Disney, because I like Disney, but I just don't like the pressure putting on you that you have to, you know, give away your soul. I think those places are more fun with all the fast pass. You have to pay a lot more though. Yeah. Did you go on the E.T. movie ride? At Universal? Where in Nico? Universal, they had a Tomb Raider ride, and that was amazing. You got so wet. And have you ever been on a ride, like a roller coaster ride or whatever, and you know that there's water, but they don't tell you that you're going to get saturated? That is the worst. So I should have known. They had these dryers out the front of the ride. I didn't realize that they were going to be necessary. The second round, they gave us a poncho, especially if you're at the front. Like, the water splashes you, but it was incredible. I love roller coasters and things like that, especially water ones. I don't remember the E.T. ride, to be honest. I don't even remember the E.T. movie, to be honest. Okay. Really boring me into my porridge. I'm just talking, maybe. Izzy, are you watching Ted Lasso right now? Is it the season finale? Oh my God. All right. We're gonna make the dough for our Sheng Bao. This recipe is coming out on Monday. It is so delicious. The bao dough is just warm water, sugar, yeast, a little bit of salt and flour. So it's a nice puffy, fluffy, light. We're eventually going to steam them and fry them. the buns, and you want it really nice and light, so we're using plain flour rather than bread flour. We don't want it really chewy. Ideally, if you have it, you want to use bleach flour, like the white stuff, but it's no stress, just use plain. I realize I haven't typed in and added salt in this recipe. So we need 250 grams of plain or bleached flour, 150 mils of warm water, teaspoon of sugar, and a teaspoon and a half of yeast, okay? Super easy. You can do this in the stand mixer or with your strong hands. This recipe, what we're making, can be filled with whatever you like. You can do like pork and chicken mixed. Pork and prawn would be really nice. We're just doing chicken today, and it's got a mixture of chicken, garlic, spring onion, ginger, soy, sesame oil, Sheng Chinese cooking wine, a little bit of corn flour and salt. But you could even do beef, like lemongrass beef is quite nice. The possibilities are endless, and you'll see when we make them. You could even do tofu, chopped up tofu for our veggies. I'm looking at you, Nito. Who else is a vegetarian? Or maybe if you're not like pescatarian, or you don't always enjoy eating meat, you don't eat pork. How many does this usually make? Let me see. 14 buns. So 250 grams. Hey, how's bells? You had a good week? Vegan for 5? I didn't know that, but have stopped since my daughter was born. Okay. Kimmy, you're vegan. Nice. Okay. So, vegan swaps for this is the dough is completely fine because it's water, yeast, sugar, salt, flour. Easy. You just want to swap out. I would probably use tofu. Or if you want to use like a vegan, like Impossible meat, or Impossible's not classed as vegan, but like a meat substitute would be fantastic. And then you can do everything else the same. You would just do everything else is the same. There's oil, we're using olive oil. You could use avocado oil, your favorite oil to pan fry, whatever you like. So it's pretty straightforward. No meat products if you're not using chicken or whatever. So Gourdball, how has the transition been for you after 5 years being a vegan? And now did you slowly kind of introduce yourself to meat products? What are you eating at the moment? Do you think you'll go back to veganism? Okay, 250 grams of flour. I really need to do this properly because I want to get in the habit of taking a photo of the ingredients because I'm very bad at it. This, and water. I can do that. Okay. "25 years for you, Kimmy. Wow. And what is your favorite products that you like? What kind of proteins do you tend to lean towards? Do you have any preferred dishes that you like? Hellsbell's had a great week. Made 80 sugar cookies for a baptism and they turned out well. Fantastic. Bubba is absolutely gorgeous, so I'm biased as it is a family friend. That's exciting. Oh, beautiful. How old is the baby that's being baptized? Yeah, just eating everything at the moment, but I would say our meals are 80% vegan. Nice. Was it a big change in your system to then start eating meat? Was that because of what was the reasoning because your daughter was born? Like, was it some needing more nutrients in your diets, or not nutrients, but like more minerals, or easier introducing it to her diet maybe? Was vegan for the environmental impact, so I think any reduction of meat consumption is good. Yeah, we agree. Definitely. I love beans, nuts, and soy. Okay. Are you a soy drinker? Do you like something like an oat milk? What do you lean towards? Okay. 150 mils of warm water. To about 2/3 of a cup. Salt. And then yeast. Yeah. Okay. And then we might add some sugar. Hello, Steph. Bon Soy and Happy Soy Boy are the best soy milks for coffee. We like Bon Soy for chai lattes, but we drink, or Exceed drinks, oat milk. I drink moo milk majority of the time, but different occasions, sometimes I'll drink oat. I prefer oat milk over almond or soy, but a good soy chai latte or a good soy chai is delish. I love how you measured the yeast. All right. Go. I really don't think these are very accurate after, I don't know, like over time, I feel like they get, I don't know if they constrict and change. So grams are always better, even with measuring, like, that's why with recipes, even when I'm doing liquids, I like to measure as well, like weigh them out, because you can't always trust your your eyesight to be perfectly lined up with the line, or you can't trust the vessel that it hasn't warped or twisted or misshapen. So it's always better to weigh. Okay, so here we have a pen, very important, yeast, instant yeast is my preference. If you read, I've got a blog post on the website about yeast and the differences between dry active yeast and instant yeast. Okay, so they're the 5 ingredients that you need. If I was a device, just do this. The problem with this, right, is on stream, is that everything's got shadows. If I did this in my photography area, I could take a photo and the lighting would be really nice. The lighting is nice for streaming, but it's not very nice for top-down photos. Just stand like this. Ugh. Is it flat? Hope that works. Anyway, so all you need to do, get a bowl, put your warm water in here with yeast, and then some sugar, like that. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. And then you want to wait for that to go foamy. Beautiful. So give it a few minutes, it'll start to activate, go frothy. Better to err on the side of caution and go colder than hotter, because if you go too hot, your yeast will die. But basically what we're aiming for is for this to go foamy, the yeast to start to activate. If you were here on Monday's stream, you'll see we had, maybe Roselli, you could find the clip for the yeast farts. So basically what's happening is your yeast is going to start to activate. It's going to start that, it's going to get hungry, and it's going to start to release carbon dioxide bubbles. So you'll find that instant yeast is a little bit different. You don't need to do this step because it is a lot more shelf stable, and the likelihood that it's going to be dead is very, very minimal. Whereas dry active yeast, the ones in sachets, are older, like an older technology of making yeast. It's a little bit more temperamental, and it needs a bit more love and like coddling. And there's a high chance that it could be dead before you even start. So you do this process to proof it, to see that there is some reaction and that it is alive before you start adding your other ingredients, because then you don't waste this. If this is dead, you haven't wasted flour, right? It's just water and yeast and salt, sugar. And it starts to kind of set it up. It's like giving it energy, and it's ready to run the race. It's like done a warm up. This is what you think of it as. If you do it with instant yeast, which we've done as well, you're just giving it a warm up and you're setting it up for success, and you know that it's alive. So I recommend whatever yeast you use to do this, if you're unsure, because what's the negative, right? You're making sure your yeast is alive, and you're giving it a warm up, ready for it to run its race in the bread game. Okay. So this is what it looks like. It's a little bit different the way instant yeast will you'll see more reaction on the surface, whereas dry active yeast in that video has underwater fireworks because the granules are larger. They sit at the bottom, they sink to the bottom, and then as they start to activate and create carbon dioxide, they rise to the top. Whereas instant yeast, which we've got now, is smaller granules, so they float already. Great clip to hear Molly all excited. It's adorable, yeah. So you can see here, starting to bubble, foam, so we already know it's ready to go. Okay. Music change. We're on the Australia-New Zealand front page today as part of Twitch ANZ Creative Week. So we're showcasing some non-gaming content, which we have the pleasure to do every stream, but we're being highlighted on the front page for the event, which is quite exciting. So we're just being good kids and playing the royalty-free music, which we do all the time, Flour in there, and now salt. Easy. Grab yourself a chopstick. Like this. Give it a mix. Give it a mix, give it a mix, give it a mix. Let me read the recipe so I know I'm doing it right for you. Okay, combine the yeast, the water, yeast, sugar, cover, set aside for 5 to 10 minutes till frothy and active. Combine with the flour and salt. Okay, like this. Difference here compared to like soft burger bun dough or other bread is this is very slightly sweet. You can add more sugar if you want it to be sweeter. If you've ever been to dim sum or what's the other word for it? Dim sum or Anyway, the buns are quite sweet. I don't like it too sweet, so I only add a little bit of sugar. But if you want it more sweet, you can definitely go ahead and add more, okay? Yum cha, that's it, yum cha. Yeah. Okay, grab yourself a Miss Molly silicone mat. There we go. And yum cha. We're just gonna go here, like that. And what I'm gonna do is use the chopstick, the side of it, and just to scrape the sides of the bowl, like that. Just making sure, as much as possible, we get all of it out. All right, just use your hands, clean hands, of course. And you're just pressurizing into the bowl to kind of make it all stick. Okay, you can do this with a stand mixer, but I like to do recipes showing you both steps because not everyone has a stand mixer or has a space or, likes using it. And it's good, it's a good skill. I think you should always learn how to make bread by hand first because you know what to look for. There's actually a risk when using a stand mixer because you don't have that tactile feedback. You can actually over knead dough very easily. You can walk away from it and you don't always have your hands and eyes on it. So quite often you can make a mistake. So when a lot of chefs and a lot of cooks will tell you you should learn how to do it the right way, like the original way, and then use equipment, appliances to make your life easier. But if you don't know how it should look or what it should feel like initially, then you don't have like those foundation skills. You should feel how different this dough feels now compared to in 5 minutes, and when you're using the stand mixer, what it should feel like, what you're aiming for, rather than being like, oh crap, it's over kneaded. How do you know if something is over kneaded? So I will show you. Like this right now, you might think, okay, that's cool. Like it's kind of smooth, it's all right to deal with. But see when I go like that, it rips. That means it's not kneaded enough. It's not smooth and supple, right? The other thing is it's not kneaded enough, but I can stretch it out like that and there's tension there, Grumpy. So this is Grumpy, so how do you know if something's over kneaded? So there's tension and it is like, it's tight. Whereas if it was over kneaded, I could just literally go like that and it will just rip apart. And it is too soft. And that's how you know it's over kneaded. It doesn't have any structure. It'll get to the stage like a bell curve, or not even a bell curve, it'll just like drop off. You're kneading perfectly, and then it's like bang, over kneaded. Sometimes you can fix something that's over kneaded. You either give it some time to rest, don't touch it, and there might be enough gluten that can kind of like proteins that can fix itself slightly. But then other times, not. You can add some gluten flour to it. So like sometimes I've over kneaded in a stand mixer and add gluten flour, a teaspoon to tablespoon, and it will add protein in there. But it's best to have that foundation of knowledge so you know when to stop. And at the end of the day, flour isn't too expensive. Water and yeast. It's not terrible if, it's always good to learn what overkneading is like, so then you waste those ingredients, but it's like a learning opportunity, right? It is frustrating when you waste ingredients, but at the end of the day, if something's overkneaded, literally get that dough, spread it out, pan fry it, and you make like flatbread from it. Doesn't need to have too much structure. It doesn't need to be perfect, but it makes amazing flatbread because it's still got some type of air bubble in it. and like I make naan bread if you know it's terrible. May I ask a question? Yes. No need to be so formal. Regarding sourdough, yes. Go for it. Okay, so what I'm doing while I'm waiting for Levy to ask a question, so you're pushing the heel of your palm, this is your heel, and you lean forward, and I'm rocking my body rather than using my shoulders and arms. Like I'm not doing this. Can you see with my elbows? Because that will really cause like stress on your neck and your shoulders, cause tension, and you'll get really tired really quickly. The best thing to do is like lock your elbows, almost lock them, but leave a little bit of bounce, and you're moving your body weight into it like this. And you'll be able to go harder and longer. Okay, put your body weight into it. See someone else getting tired, doing activities, tell them to put their body weight into it. So I am on day 9 of the new starter, and it's very hoochy, like every day. Yep, more flour. So it just means that it's hungry. Every time you see hooch, should I do 2 feeds? You can, or just make it the proportion a little bit different and add a higher percentage of flour. So do like 1 teaspoon, I don't know what you're doing, like ounces or grams, or not ounces, like teaspoons. You want to add like 1 part water, 2 parts flour. Should I keep discarding half every day? You don't, I do 60 grams. Depending on how much like volume you've got in your jar, you don't need to be discarding every single day. Sometimes, like I say that just to cover all bases for discarding. It's easier like every day. But if you've got a jar that's like this big and you've only got this much starter, and when it rises, it doubles in size, you've still got heaps of room in the jar, don't stress. The only reason for discarding is so that you don't have so much, like a huge surplus of starter. Eventually, if you're on day 9, like how long does it take for your starter to double? What, like time it now, because it might just be really active. And that's why it's probably a warmer environment for you, Levy, but it's already probably really active. So you can, it's not, it should double. It will always double, but it would not double in 4 to 6 hours. It will, like if you leave it, it will always double in size because there will be some activity. But you just don't want it, to make it class as active, it's to double in about 4 to 6 hours. It will always hit, like the activity level will always, it's hard to explain, but it'll always go, and when it hits that peak point, you want that within the 4 to 6 hours. But yeah, you're doing a great job. So just give it more flour. It's only a little bubbly, you know. It's not like, oh, okay. Then yeah, definitely it means that it's not getting enough food. So yeah, I getcha. More flour and let me know. Send me a message in Discord. You got it. Yeah, of course. So, this is the dough now. Still ripping. We're getting less, all right? But the difference is the feel of it. I can stretch this out now and it feels softer in my hand, see? It's not ripping as much. It's still ripping, it's still gonna rip. But what we aim to be able to do is we want to be able to stretch it out till it doesn't rip completely and we get a window pane so it's see-through. But see how it's ripping? It's nearly, it's on its way. And that's what you want to feel. You want to be able to feel in your hands the difference of the dough. It will have structure, but it will be more, it will have like more elasticity to it. Also, what benefits as well, which I didn't do, is an auto release. So like letting it sit like this, it's partly kneaded, letting it sit covered for 10 minutes. What's happening is those proteins are like little soldiers. They shake and then they link up. So the glutenin and the gliadin link up and they create gluten. They create gluten strands. So letting it sit like this, which blows people's mind. If you go to my focaccia dough recipe, it'll explain to you what a no-knead recipe is. And basically, kneading bread hastens the process and the reaction what's occurring with the proteins. But if you let this sit by itself, put it in the fridge or leave it on the bench, it'll basically like knead itself. It'll create gluten without me doing anything. And that's what's amazing about no-knead bread, but it just takes a long time. So the reaction will occur. It's better done in the fridge because the yeast is kind of taken out of the equation because it kind of slows down the production of the yeast so the proteins can create gluten. If I was to leave this on the bench, you think of it as like the activity level. Let me explain this to you. Okay, so you got to think of it like this, right? This is your timer. So this is at room temperature. The yeast is like active like this, right? And it will take this time, which is maybe 2 hours. I'm doing this upside down. 2 hours for the yeast to get to its perfect form, its final form. Stace, thank you for 17 months. Thank you for resubbing. Whereas at room temperature, the protein, it doesn't matter what room temperature, like what temperature the protein's at, but without kneading, the protein acts like this, right? So, or kind of goes like that. So the protein is growing and creating gluten strands and strength, but it comes to its peak here at maybe 4 hours, right? But because the yeast hits its peak at this time, we've got 2 hours difference. So it's only reached like 50% of the amount of, can only hold the amount, like 50% of the amount of air. So it won't rise as big and it won't have as good structure because the structure hasn't, or the foundations haven't been laid to then be able to blow up, like, you know, when you blow up the balloon, it'd be able to hold as much of the air. So you got to think of it like here, the balloon, which is the gluten, it's only 50% kind of woven. So it's kind of like letting air out. So not all of the air is being trapped compared to here. But if we did a slow proof in the fridge and we took the yeast out of the equation, you still got to think of like your protein growth is here, and then it's going to be like 4 hours, right? What did we say? 4 hours. I've got to figure out how to do a 4 back to front. Hold on. There we go. 4 hours. And the yeast development is like, it's like this now. Like that, right? So by the time you hit 4 hours, the structure is there, but the yeast is not at its full activity. So that means that you can proof it for longer and to then hit that yeast production, or you'll end up taking it out of the fridge because eventually the yeast will stay here at this level of activity until you bring it up to room temperature. So you could leave it in the fridge for 3 or 4 days, 3 days to make pizza dough. And then it's only when you take it out of the fridge and bring it to room temperature that the yeast will start to grow. But you've had 3 days of gluten formation that it's already strong. It's a really strong balloon. It's going to hold up as much of the air as possible. Am I kind of making sense? Is it kind of sinking in what I'm talking about? So gluten is going to be formed over a period of time. It doesn't matter really the temperature, but it needs a long time without kneading. And it's best done to take yeast out of the kind of equation by doing it in the fridge. So I can sit this in the fridge for 2 to 3 days and it'll knead itself. Basically, it'll create the gluten for me without me kneading it. If I want to make bread today, or if I want to make focaccia today, it's the same result structure-wise, but I just knead it. I think it's a really confusing concept, but it's just something to learn, which is amazing about bread, that you can manipulate time and bake bread when you want. The other benefit of a slow proof, putting it in the fridge, is you also have lactic acid and the byproduct of the yeast. You're going to have alcohols produced. It's going to have a deeper, richer, better flavor as well. But the simplicity of it is that no knead bread, take yeast out of the equation and do a longer proof. If you don't have that time, you need to knead. That make sense? Good, Bob, does it make sense? But I'm trying to find, probably do one day a skill kind of course on how to make bread. So how long to make, talk about all of that fluff, maybe 5-6 minutes. And I just want to show you the difference, the dough. I've done nothing, it's just sat there covered and way less ripping. Can you see? Way less ripping on the texture. Way less. Still there, but look at that. It is softer, more pliable, and that's just by not kneading. Imagine what could happen in a day. You don't have to touch it at all. You literally need to mix it and put it in the fridge, and it'll bring it together, itself together as a dough. Who has time to not knead? Yeah, it's good. Sometimes if I'm prepared, I know I need to be prepared ahead of time, but I like to make pizza dough and let it sit for about 3 days in the fridge. It's amazing. And you get big air bubbles, and the texture of the dough is just nice. It has a better flavour. Because that's what sourdough, you know how sourdough has that sourness? That is the byproduct of fermentation. You can get something similar by using instant yeast, but letting it proof for longer. Okay, I am off work. I'll take a fried chicken bao. Nice. All right. Yeah, that implies I know what I'm having for dinner in 3 days. I know, it does. But you can also freeze the dough. You can make it ahead of time, chop it up, roll it into balls, and then freeze it. And then you've got some nice flavorful dough. All right, that is nice and smooth. So we're gonna let that sit aside and double in size. Cover it like that. Wait, could you get the same fermentation of sourdough as using pale ale lager? No. Sourdough is a special type of yeast that is like a culture that has your yeast and your lactic acid, it's got yeast and bacteria, and it's cultured over a longer time, a period of time, so the flavors develop. You'll have some flavor from pale ale and lager, but a lot of time it's not alive anymore. That fermentation that has occurred in yeast, in the beer, isn't strong enough, or it isn't active enough to create a sour or to create bread. It'll give you some flavor, but it won't be active enough like a yeast. You have to use the pale ale or the beer in conjunction with a yeast that is strong. You could make a type of beer sourdough starter, but you need to grow it over a period of a few weeks to make it strong. Just because it has a yeast doesn't mean the yeast is strong. Does that make sense? I'm just grabbing some oil, rubbing the surface so it doesn't dry out, like that. So when it is puffy, you can dump it out and it comes out in one piece. Cool. Set that aside. How long would you let it thaw to use it? Till it comes to room temperature. Depends on your environment, your room. But maybe an hour and a half or 2 hours. From frozen sitting on the bench, an hour, roll it out to the shape you want, let it rise again and get active. I'd say about 2 hours. Are you covering that? It's got a cloth over here. Yeah. Ideally, you'd use a bigger bowl. Oh, no, I should use this. Okay. I'm changing bowl because this has got more space. Like that. Bigger space. More room to move. All right. Let's go with our filling. So this is just chicken breast. Ideally, you'd use chicken mince, ground chicken. But we're going to make our own today. All we're going to do is chop this up in the food processor. It's kind of semi-frozen still, so I'm going to put it in the microwave to defrost. And we're going to chop it up with all our fillings. Okay, so nice flourish. I thought the bowl was going to disappear. Okay. Like I mentioned, we cook these in our house and we make them chicken, but I do like pork as well. But Exceed doesn't. My husband doesn't eat pork very much, so we make chicken. And they'll be on the website as chicken, but you can definitely do pork mince. Tofu, like I mentioned. Turkey could work. Beef could work. Whatever filling you want to use in these buns, they're amazing. Okay. Food processor. Whip this around like that. I don't know if they're... Okay, this is something I've always wanted to do but never had time. If this has a bigger cable inside it, or... It's just so short. It's not very long. I would lose my mind if it was retractable, but I don't think it is. I don't want to break it. Okay, food processor, like that. And these, I think it makes 14 buns. I have too much chicken here. I have 2 chicken breasts. We want 250 grams. Okay. I don't know how accurate this scales are. 0. Hey. Let me find something that is... Let's see how much. Okay, this halloumi is 180 grams. It says 204. Maybe it is though, because it's got wrapping. 198. Compare the pair. There. Okay. Scales. 205. My scales, my kitchen scales, say 205.6. This says 203. One of them's wrong. Possibly both of them are wrong. Cool. I love that. I love that. I get really nervous about this with cooking, that you put so much faith. 213.5, supposed to be 200 grams. 210. So there's 3 grams different. I know it doesn't seem like much, but it actually could mean something. Anyway, it doesn't matter too much what we're making. How much is that? 400. We want 250 grams. 290, so 300 grams of chicken. Okay. Now we want garlic. You guys like a lot of garlic? Grab your garlic cloves, thumb and forefinger like this, rock it, jiggle, takes the skin off. Super easy. Garlic it up. We're gonna add spring onion, scallion, soy sauce, some fresh ginger, sesame oil, Szechuan chili oil. You could add whatever you like. That's 3. I think we'll do 4. The recipe calls for 1 clove. So that's I agree with that, but there's actually something that a lot of home cooks do with garlic. They do wrong, and that's why they feel the need to increase the amount of garlic cloves. This is different because we're blending and hopefully chopping it up, but with garlic, when you slice garlic has this enzyme in it called allicin, and it's, hey Google, what is allicin in garlic?
On the website Ireland101.com, they say allicin in Irish is Ailey's.
Hey Google, what is allicin garlic?
According to Wikipedia, allicin is an organosulfur compound obtained from garlic, a species in the family Alliaceae. It was first isolated and studied in the laboratory by Chester J. Cavalido and John Hayes Bailey in 1944. When fresh garlic is chopped or crushed, the enzyme allinase converts alliin into allicin, which is responsible for the aroma of fresh garlic.
Yeah, so basically it is a kind of like a defense mechanism from garlic itself. And so when you slice garlic, it's kind of like the more you mutilate garlic, the more it's going to release. It's like when you think about a bug, and if you squish a bug like a slug, it's going to release more goo, right? It's going to get gooier. It's the same with allicin and garlic. So if you slice garlic, it's going to release only a little bit because it's only cutting, there's only a few places where you're cutting it. If you crush garlic or you mince it, like you chop it up and you like squish it and you like mutilate it a lot more allicin is going to be released. Therefore, it has a lot more flavor and a lot more aroma to it. So if you want to really enhance the amount of garlic in your dish and you want to, feel like you don't have to use 15 cloves, you're probably doing it the wrong way. The best thing to invest in my opinion, is a garlic crusher. OXO garlic crusher is somewhere here. Like this. Usually I do it with this, so I might as well anyway, because I use mint, like ground meat, so I usually do this. So you just pop it in there, and it's forcing it through this little area, and it's mutilating it, right? So it's mincing it, crushing it, so you're gonna have a lot more enhanced garlic flavor and smell. There we go. And I usually kind of scrape one side, flip it over, and no garlic is ever left behind. Grab a knife and then scrape the edges and the inside and make sure you've got it all in there. Because it's peeled, there's no skin, so I like to get as much. But yeah, that's my little hack. More Alison, more smell, more flavour. Just the basics of Alison. Okay, good. So chicken, garlic, we'll add some ginger. I have where is it? There it is right in front of me. There's ginger sitting here waiting for today's stream. I nearly put it away yesterday. I was like, I need it. So ginger, I don't ever take the skin off. Good nutrients, I suppose. So I just grate the skin and all. And then I will store it in the freezer. It makes it firmer, so you can grate it easier. And then you can also, it doesn't like deteriorate, doesn't dry out. So it's better for longer in the freezer. There we go. Lovely. Okay. Now we need to grab a few things. We've got our Szechuan chili oil. This recipe is on my website. Soy, sesame oil, Shaoxing, and also corn flour. Cool? Forgive me for the writing. It's left over from Monday's stream. Haven't got around to taking it off yet. So, Shaoxing, sesame, soy, and corn flour. Cool. We're going to add some spring onion into here. You could add coriander if you want. Is it fresh coriander? Nice. Oh, my coriander's a bit, it's a bit gross. Something was sitting on top of it in the fridge. So I think we should be able to put a bit of it in there. There we go. Spring onion. Chop the ends off. Ratty tails, take them off. And then all I do is just take the top layer off like that. Green bits. I'm not dropping things on the floor, I've got a bin. Some people ask me if I just throw things on the floor, but there is a bin right here that I can move in and out. Oh my God, I just dropped two in the, I threw the wrong bits. I've got to wash these now. Kelly, thank you for 10 months. Thank you so much. I'm putting the wrong, lucky it's a new bin bag. Silly me. All right, just take these ends off like that. And I'm just going to chop it up slightly. Kelly, thank you for your resub for 10 months. Thank you for supporting the channel. Guys, we are raising money down here for Game on Cancer for the rest of the week. So if you are interested in supporting blood cancer research and the Game on Cancer charity, please consider !donate. Help us hit our goal. All right, so just chuck that on now, and we're just going to chop it up before we add everything else. So I'm only using this because I'm not using ground chicken, I'm using full chicken breast, but usually you would use like ground chicken or chicken mince. There we go, looks good. Fab, okay. Like that. So we want into our mixture soy sauce, so a tablespoon. Everything's connected. Cool. Tablespoon of soy sauce. There we go. Sheng Chinese cooking wine. We want a teaspoon. New bottle. There we go. Oh. Sometimes there's some sharp bits on this. I cut myself before, so I'm a bit careful. All right. Sheng and sesame oil, half a tablespoon, depending how much you like it. You can always tweak it to your personal preference, like that. So, soy sauce, 1 tablespoon, half a tablespoon of sesame oil, toasted sesame oil, 1 to 2 teaspoons of Sheng Chinese cooking wine, 2 teaspoons, it's up to a personal preference for the chili oil. It can be a bit spicy, so if you've got kids, you're making this for a family dinner, serve it, you know, as a dipping sauce with the chili oil, or just add a little bit. Szechuan peppercorn in I don't want to add. Alrighty. And then last but not least, we're going to add in half a teaspoon of corn flour or cornstarch, so that it's going to thicken it. And as the mixture cooks, it steams, the juices will thicken up slightly, so it keeps the bun juicy and it doesn't make the bun soggy, okay? Fab. Just mix that gently together. I'm going to pop this in a container and we'll pop it in the fridge. We're ready for when the buns are ready. It's easy. All you'll do is grab your dough, roll it out, fill it with your filling and steam it. Super easy. That. This aside. These can be steamed on their own, or we're going to steam them and fry them. So they're eventually going to be like slightly crisp on the outside. Just gives another textural element, and you can make them all in one fry pan with a lid. I've always avoided making bao, but you've made it look achievable. You wait. It'll be even better. Easier when you see how it all comes together. Okay. So that's your mixture, like that. What we're gonna do, you might think that there's not too much mixture because you don't want a whole lot. It's enough for 14 buns. Like they don't have a whole lot of filling because they're not huge, but you could make double the mixture and make them bigger if you want. So there you go. Lovely. Cover it. Just rinse this in the sink. cover that. Just grab yourself a cover like that into the fridge until we need it. Okay. So let's make apple tea cake. Easy, easy, easy recipe. Apples? Okay. We'll take this away for the moment. Great clean bench. Apples. And I didn't print out the recipe. I should have it. One moment. I haven't used my laptop in quite a few days, a week on stream. And I've put my charger somewhere. And so now I can't turn it on. Damn it. Here it is. Got it. So we're gonna make the apple tea cake from the website. It is basically one bowl genius. No, one bowl simple. All you need is apples, or you could use nectarines, peaches. What else we've had people make them? Pineapple, chopped pineapple. What else? Nectarine's really good. I make it with nectarine. Apple and cinnamon, yeah. What is happening? Here we go, okay. You want a cheeseburger. Okay. What kind of cheese do you want on it? Okay. Apple tea cake. I think it's two or three apples. Let's have a look. Easy. So the things you will need are large bowl, hand mixer, and I'm gonna make it in a 7 inch cake tin. We need butter, sugar, vanilla, 2 eggs, plain flour, baking powder, 2 Granny Smith apples, and some raw sugar for the top. Okay, so I'll put one of these away. We got butter. Ooh, need some more butter. Sugar, half a cup. Do I have enough in here? No, gotta go around. So we'll need flour here, baking powder and sugar. Cool, and 2 eggs. And tree. Okay. So if you're just joining us, welcome in. We are streaming for Twitch ANZ Creative Week, showcasing some non-gaming, some creative content. So welcome to the kitchen. Pull up a chair. We stream food 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And we have a lot of themed food. This is leftover from Monday's stream. We did a Redfall stream. But our focus is on food, fun, fumbles, simple recipes, approachable, fuss-free recipes that you can create in your own home for yourself, your friends, family, and be proud. Learn a bit of food science along the way, tips and tricks, and have fun doing it. All right, so this baking powder. There we go. Baking powder and 2 eggs. So we recreate some food items from different games, TV shows, and movies. We just have some fun. Yeah, don't mind what's on the cabinets. It's normal. It's all good. I've unplugged my string paddle. There we go. It's back. There we go. So, sugar, eggs, apples, nope, butter, baking powder, and flour. Very, very normal. Okay, so we need 114, half a cup, so about 125 grams. I think we'll use this today. So one bowl. Your scales, like that. Thank you, Roselli. Oh, look at that, perfect. Hey, Ninja Cool Pants, welcome in. There we go. We're gonna do sugar is 100 grams, half cup. Cool. And you can do this in two ways. You can use a hand mixer, a stand mixer, or you can use brute force. So this is room temperature butter. So if you want to, you don't have the appliances, turn your oven on first. You can just do it like this. There we go. What the butter, the creaming the butter and the sugar do together is dissolve the sugar granules and incorporate a little bit of air. So you're leavening. But we're gonna add some baking powder. There we go. Like that. And if you want to keep mixing this till it incorporates a little bit of air, goes a little bit more pale. Yes, she's pretty amazing. She's always here, always keeping you guys in the loop. We're very, very lucky to have her. Thank you for that praise, Godbo. I really appreciate you guys saying that, because not often do we see something but acknowledge or say it out loud. And I think that if you guys notice something like that and appreciate people around you, your friends or family, things that you think, like kind things about something, it could make their day. You don't know what's going on in someone's life, someone's day, that I think we need to just spread more love around the world. So thank you for doing that. Really, really great. How do we know Roselli isn't a written ChatGPT implementation? Do you think that I have the skills to do that? I'm pretty handy with stuff, but I don't have the programming capabilities to do that. All right. Can you see it's gone slightly more pale in colour? So I don't have to use a stand mixer. Delish. That's how Skynet begins. All right. We're going to add some vanilla extract or vanilla bean paste. Okay. Squeeze. Just the big container from Costco. We're going to add in our eggs. Okay. I smashed a little bit too hard that time. Two. All right. Lucky my bench is clean. Gross. Grossy Pelosi. There we go. Wash your hand. Molly taking your anger out on the eggs since 2023. I don't have any anger. I'm a chill Bill. Okay, this stage, you might find that like it looks a little bit curdled when you're mixing, even with a hand mixer. No stress, don't stress. We don't stress around here. Once you add the flour, it will bring it all together. Trust. You could do this with a whisk as well if you want. Looks like scrambled eggs at the moment, right? It'll come together, trust. What we want to do, push that over there, duck down here. Grab yourself a peeler. Okay, twist the top off. Sorry, I left that out. And then just go round, round, round. The only time I peel anything is mainly for presentation, or apples. Apples when you're baking, the skin, unlike like most fruits and veggies, the skin doesn't soften with apples, so it kind of ruins the dish. Alchemy, welcome in. All right, rotate, rotate, rotate. Just joining us, welcome in. We're making apple tea cake, and we've made our bao dough and our filling. We're just waiting for the dough to rise so we can make our bao buns. Sheng bao, which are pan-fried steamed buns. One. This recipe for the apple tea cake is on missmollymakes.com. I want to remake it because I love it, but also I want to rephotograph it. The photos are a bit moody. I want it to be bright and airy and pretty. All right, so just I feel like one of the most important parts of watching live cooking streams is seeing bits like that where you say, I know this looks weird, that's normal. Yeah, cool. Because often following a recipe, you think you've done something wrong. Yeah. And that's what, I love to hear that. I love that that's what you like to hear and like me to point out. So question from a non-Australian, is a tea cake because it's meant to be enjoyed with tea? Yeah. Coffee cake, like, so if you said to an Australian, do you want a slice of coffee cake? It's literally like a cake with coffee in it. Whereas a tea cake, it's funny because a tea cake is usually like a buttery cake, and an apple tea cake, it goes with tea. But if you said like you want this coffee slice or some coffee cake, it's literally like we had it when we were kids quite often. It's a coffee cake, flavoured cake with a coffee, sometimes a coffee icing or coffee glaze. Or you guys call it like a coffee cake to you guys, for us is like a streusel or just like any type of cake. Afternoon tea cake, just a cake. Have you ever made an American coffee cake? I don't think so. What kind of coffee cakes do you guys like? Buttery topping with cinnamon sugar. Yeah. So we would call that like a streusel. Like a crumble cake. I have an amazing blueberry buckle, which is kind of like a fluffy sponge blueberry cake with like a crumble topping. It is incredible. I used to just call it blueberry cake. Blueberry crumble cake, but then I found out there's actually a name for it. It's called blueberry, what is that? No, I don't want that. It was just there's a knife that I used to cut something with the mixture, the pork mixture. So it's put aside. Oh no, it's garlic. I needed a fresh one. Yeah, so I didn't know that it was called a blueberry buckle. I used to just call it for years a blueberry crumble cake. Hey Google, what is an American coffee cake?
According to Wikipedia, coffee cake may refer to a sponge cake flavored with coffee or, in the United States, a sweet cake intended to be eaten with coffee or tea.
Yeah.
A coffee-flavored cake is typically baked in a circular shape with 2 layers separated by coffee butter icing, which may also cover the top of the cake. Walnuts are a common addition.
So when I was a kid, we grew up on a farm, and my mum would, as a homemaker, a home housewife, the women, like my dad would go off as a farmer, and my mum would have to make food, morning tea, lunch, and afternoon tea for our shearers or our workers. So a lot of the time it was like sandwiches, and then you would make cake, like sheet cakes basically, like in a big portion. So my mum would make a coffee cake that was so delicious. It was just like a very simple cake, like a sponge, not a sponge, but like a yellow cake, but with coffee in it. And then you would get like a coffee glaze. So it was basically just like brewed coffee, instant coffee powder, a little bit of milk and powdered sugar. You put that over the top of the cake. It was delicious with like some walnuts on top. Was really nice. Very simple but really yummy. That's what we grew up with. Whereas tea cake, this is the only tea cake that I know with apples. It's like a buttery tea cake. But a lot of the time we don't refer to cake that you eat with tea or coffee. It's just cake. Like, until I started streaming, I never really knew the term sheet cake or birthday cake. Like, in Australia, we don't have birthday cake. You just have a cake that you eat on your birthday. Like, if you said to a birthday cake to an American, a lot of the time they think of like a white cake or a vanilla cake with funfetti sprinkles in it. We don't have anything like that. If you said birthday cake to an Australian, you would just a cake that they liked, like Black Forest cake or mud cake. It's very interesting, different between the countries. Pastel de manesa? Manesa? Inglés, por favor. All right. Like that. Manesa is apple, is it? Okay. Hey, Puppy Sitter Gamer, welcome in. So we're just dicing our apples. You can make them big chunks if you want. I like them small because it means that you get them more like distributed through your cake. You can do some small ones and some big ones. So then like the small ones kind of like soften and disappear, and then you got big chunks on the surface. But whatever. I do the same thing with nectarines or peaches in this cake. I like it small. Like that. Fib. Whoop. Fabulous, like that, okay? We're gonna set that aside, get back onto our cake mix. So like, ooh, looks kind of gross. No stress. Okay, what we want next is our flour and our baking powder. You can do this, okay, you do this the right way. We're gonna do this the Molly recipe written way. Basically, it's one bowl recipe, right? We don't want any other mess. So what I do, bit of a cheat, is I put my plain flour in here, then I put my baking powder on top, and then you mix it in. It's sneaky. We love a one bowl recipe. Ah! Drop my lid. My legs are a bit sore from the gym yesterday, so I'm moving a bit slow. Okay. One. 1 teaspoon of baking powder. Getting swole, that's it. Teaspoon. Like that. All right, so here's the sneaky thing. Ready? So we've got flour, salted butter in here with the sugar, vanilla, eggs, okay? And then we've added our plain flour on top with our baking powder. And you just want to kind of like zhuzh this, so to mix the baking powder around the flour before you mix it in, okay? Beautiful. This is a butter cake, so it's really going to be really luxurious, thicker batter, and then dotted with our beautiful apples. All right. Which apples do you like, green or red? Green for this, for baking. I like green. They're tart, a little bit sour. They keep their shape. Granny Smith keep their shape a bit better. Whereas when I'm eating, I like red ones. Pink lady apples. Okay. Look at that. Delicious. This dough is really good. Nom, nom, nom. Okay. So, if I was looking for a tin, I want like a 7-inch tin. There we go. Two apple trees. Ooh, very nice. So I'm thinking for our front yard, I want to grow some fruit trees. But I'm really unsure of like, we have this like front area, like a rectangle, like, and I'm just unsure of what I want to put there. I'm thinking maybe a mandarin, a lime, a lemon, and maybe something else, I'm not sure. Sadly, persimmon tree isn't going to work though. How come? The weather? All right, so for those that didn't see what I did, because I didn't explain it, I'm sorry. Baking paper, like that. Fold it in half again, fold it diagonally again. Comes out like that, right? Put this in the middle, roughly. Take it to the edge. Like that. Put it roughly in the middle. Put your finger there. Hold on with your fingernail. And then cut. Right? Undo it. You can trim it to fit if you want, but I like it a little bit bigger for the reason that when I put it in here, it goes up the sides and then it releases a bit easier. Cool? So, grab a little bit of spray, like that. It's butter cake, so it won't really stick. There's enough butter in there. Okay. So, like this. Get your mixture. Put your apples in there. I'm going to leave a little bit for the surface. Look at that. You might think, oh my God, there's not enough mixture. There's too many apples. Don't stress about it. The apples will soften, they'll add moisture. They'll loosen up the dough a bit. And it'll be delicious. Into there. Like this. That. Push around. spread it out. Okay, so my little thing with this is coarse, like raw sugar or some coarse sugar on top, because it goes a little bit crunchy, okay? So there are little leftover apples that I put aside. Okay, give me one moment. Turbinado sugar or raw sugar, like this. It's a bit more coarse. Oh, that one's really coarse because it's stuck together, but whatever. And all you do is just like that. There's so much butter in here, don't stress that it's kind of going up the edges and it's uneven, because the butter will melt and it will like basically like level itself. Okay, clean up your mess like that. Into the oven until you can press and it like there's some resistance and it's, or you put you put a poker in there, it comes out not clean. That people have been telling you the wrong thing. You don't want it to come out clean, because by the time it comes out of the oven and it cools, it continues to cook and it's overcooked. You want it to come out mostly clean with a little bit of kind of flakes, like crumbles stuck to your poker. Okay? Okay? Not clean, yes. Because everything that comes out of the oven has what's called, or whatever is heated and cooked, has what's called carryover cooking, right? So it's gonna, even when you've taken it out of the pan, if you've taken it out of the oven, it's gonna continue to cook unless you reduce that temperature drastically, okay? So when you get steak, that steak will continue to cook slightly before, as it rests, and then it will start to cool down. If you've got eggs and you've cooked your eggs on the fry pan and they're perfect, either serve them straight away, or if they're like hard-boiled eggs, that's why we put them in really cold water, because we drastically cool down that temperature to stop them cooking, because then everything will, while it waits to be plated or resting or whatever, it's always cooking. So to ensure that things don't get overcooked, you want to take them off the pan, out of the oven, just a little bit less than done, because it will finish on the bench, okay? So it's like cookies. You know when you take a cookie out of the oven, it's like perfect. You leave that perfect cookie on the tray. The tray is really hot and they're gonna cook underneath the bottom, and it's gonna make it crispier. So take the cookies out of the oven, let them sit for like 5 minutes so they firm up slightly, then transfer them as soon as possible onto a plate or a cooling tray, so then they'll slow down the cooking and stop the cooking, okay? So it's not always possible, so just undercook it slightly. It's like brownies. Don't cook brownies completely, because then they're cake. You want them to be gooey. You mean that means they're undercooked, okay? Crumbles coming out are good. Liquid disgustingness is bad. Or yeah, crumbles is okay. Liquid, you don't want it to be liquid, because that's not even cooked at all. But I'm talking about like if you poke the cake and a few crumbles come on and it's like still a little bit under, there's like light crumbles, it's good. If it comes out clean, it means it's overcooked. Banana bread horrors. Banana bread is hard because it kind of cooks on the surface, but the center is molten. It means turn your oven down a little bit more as well if it's cooking on the surface before the interior, or use a different cake tin. Okay, let's find this bowl. What's going on? It's too cold in this room. It's good. It's soft, it's just not enough. But we will continue, because I'll show you that even this, it hasn't doubled, But what we'll do is we'll shape it and we'll just proof it with the filling in there a little bit longer. Okay? This is our dough. All right, so look at this. So soft, so soft. It's pretty good. It's pretty good, but we're gonna need it a little bit more. Knock out the air, agitate it, and we're going to divide it into how many pieces? 14. 14. Like that. This is the problem with stream when dough, you're reliant on dough, and like I don't have a bread proofer that keeps it at like a warm temperature. So sometimes my kitchen is too cool and the bread takes forever to proof. We have to just look at that silky though. Yeah, so pretty. Bow, heck yeah. Bow, yes. Bow, chicka, wow, wow. Okay, so that's your dough. And we're gonna put this away. This has got remnants of dough. Put this in the water, or like soak it, so it softens all that that flour. So it comes off in the dishwasher, or if you're the dishwasher, it comes off easier. How many of you guys have a dishwasher, or you are the dishwasher? I have to do a little bit of both, and I hate it. Okay, divide this into 14 pieces. You can actually let your dough sit in the fridge for a few. Yeah, but we don't have a few days because you guys want instant entertainment. Okay, so now we've divided it in two. Now we need to divide it in 7 each piece. So I learned this thing that I saw. Okay, I learned this thing. So you get your dough like this and you divide it into like a donut, like this, and you stretch it out into like a donut. And then you roll it out like that, and it helps you make like better shaped things. I don't know. I don't know exactly, so don't judge me. Okay, let's go 1. How many got divide? 7. Crap. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, okay. 1, 2. They're the same. 2, 4, 6, 7. This one's a little bit of the runt of the litter. Dude, I'm gonna need to make these. Yeah, you do. And recipes from the other website too. Levy, I think you'll like the Mexican dip. Okay. I hate hand washing dishes. Both. I wash pans by hand. You start a dough on Monday and then finish it on Friday. It's a bit long. Maybe Monday and then make it on Wednesday. Hate hand washing dishes, so dishwasher was a non-negotiable. Plus, all of my new pans are now dishwasher safe. Jay has learned that less dishes I have to manually deal with equals more cooking, less he has to wash. Nice. All right. All right. How many is that? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13. Damn it. Miscalculated. I'm going to add that to there. Add a little, steal from the rich and give to the poor. See? You can weigh these out and do it properly. We don't do things properly. I tell you to do them properly, but I don't always do them properly. Okay. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. Fabulous. Fabulous. Do what I say, not what I do, 100%. And if you want to argue, get out of here. Okay. This is my jungle. Yeah, fuck yeah, that girl, fuck yeah, girl, that Mexican looks like me. Yeah. Guys, MissMollyMakes.com. There's some really amazing recipes there, if I do say so myself. I'm going to talk myself up. But make some of my recipes. My cookbooks are pretty good. Those corn fritters, they're good too. What else is a good recipe on the website? The manatozzi, the Italian buns, good. The Italian cutlets, the chicken cutlets, delish. All right, I'm just rolling these in some oil so that they don't dry out, okay? Then you want to grab yourself a rolling pin. Mini one works good. We want to make the strawberry Swiss roll cake next. Do it! And if you make things, you have to review them. Spinach and triangles sound good. They are good too. The Hainanese chicken you guys would love. Levy, you would love. You and Mr. Lev. And the poached chicken and rice on its own without the sauces would be good for baby Reef. All right. I'm going to need to put that down. I need to get the filling. Okay. I know. There's some great recipes there. Filling. Bam. I need to set a timer. Hey Google, set a timer for 15 minutes. Hey Google, set a timer for 15 minutes.
Sure, 15 minutes. Starting now.
I'll read these out to you, and so we know we're all doing the same things. Okay, bring it together. Bring it all together. Return the dough to the workbench, lightly dust with flour, and punch out the dough to remove the air. Divide into 15. It says 14. That's meant to be wrong. That's for 15. If I was 15, where would I be? Here. 14. Cover the dish with a dish towel. See, towel. So they don't dry out. Take one portion at a time and roll it into shape with thinner edges, around 12 centimeters. Okay. I'm gonna do as I say for a minute. Cover it. Cool? Now working with this, roll it into a round shape, like this. So this is 15 centimeters, 6 inches. So we're gonna be about 4 inches, okay? Like that. And you want kind of like thinner edges if possible. Don't stress. Roll out the edges like that. Okay. Place 2 to 3 teaspoons of the filling, which is here, we made before. And grab the filling, 2 to 3 teaspoons. We won't go too heavy, too fast. Because remember, that's going to be divided into 14. Just see how we go for the first one. And, all right. Use the other hand to fold the edges, pinching between the thumb and index finger until the bun is completely sealed. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to pick these up. You can pinch them into you can do it like this if you wanted to, and just make them like a money bag, right? So I'll do the first one and I'll show you. So you can do it like this. So pick up diagonal edges like that and just you can definitely do that, right? No one's gonna judge you, and that's easy. No stress, because what we're gonna do later is we're gonna flip them over and we're gonna pan fry them. Cool? So grab yourself a tray with some baking paper. This is the easiest way, just that you put them on a plate or somewhere that they have some space to grow and get big and strong and fluffy. Okay. Upside down, like that. Or whatever. If you want to do it like that, just leave them up way. Okay, next one, I'm going to show you something different. So we're going to roll it out. Easy. Put your filling in the middle. All right, go in. What you're going to do is thumb and forefinger. What we're going to do is pinch, hold in the middle. Your thumb is going to work its way around and stay in the middle, all right? So what I try and teach is like you fold it like that and push it kind of like onto your fingernail and then pull your fingernail up and pinch down, right? So you're pinching like this. So it looks like that, okay? So the difference, it's not that much difference compared to like that. Like they won't really look very different. That is quicker and easier, all right? That just looks a little bit prettier. And we're gonna wait for them to get big and strong, okay? So roll it out. The reason why, ooh, mail, one moment. Coming. Good mail. Coming. Hi, how you doing?
Your name, please?
Hold on 2 seconds. Delivery. We got some new linen. There was a spotlight sale and we got some new bed quilt. Well, 2. Hello, I'm back. Wash my hands. Just got bed quilt. Best thing, having 2 doonas, having 2 quilts, like quilts, you guys call them quilts? Like 2 bed blankets at night time. We have 1 each. And it is so good. So there was a sale. So now we've got matching ones. I'll show you later if you care. Okay, back to it. So what you want to do is you want to aim for like this to be a bit thicker because when we join the edges, they to be thinner so it's not like too bulky when they're kind of like pulled together. Like if you look here, see how that's a lot of dough compared to underneath, and they can get like really doughy when it's steamed. 1 each, what size? King. Because we have a king doona. Oh, wrong one. What am I looking for here? Okay, so the edges are thinner, if you can wrangle that. Okay, like that. Okay, so you could do anything, whatever filling you like. You don't have to do chicken. So go to there, pinch, and then work your way, rotate it. These are the easiest way, is putting it on the base and working your way around rather than trying to hold them in your hand. It can get a little bit too, what's the word, like, it can be too much to do it in your hand and hold it there. A king doona each, that seems like a lot of doona. Well, our doona is, we had 1 doona, but the doona has 2 parts to it. So in winter you click it together, so it's thicker. But in summer we had 2. We pull 1 apart, so we ended up having 2. So then we were using one each and it was fantastic. So it is a lot of blanket, like the doonas are quite big. What is a doona? So a doona is like a blanket that is filled with down, or usually down, or a duvet, and then you put it in a quilt cover. Does that make sense? We call it a doona. Hey Google, what is an Australian doona?
On the website
downer.
manchesterwarehouse.com.au, they say, most Australians now use the term doona meaning a quilt. There is no difference
Yeah.
between a quilt and a doona.
I'll
You
show
might
you.
also hear
I'll
the
show you
term
what it looks
duvet,
like.
which is used most commonly throughout Europe.
Because I get this question all the time, and I think I've got a queen one around. Nope. Okay. Guys, this is like, we go on a tangent and I will literally pull my doona off my bed now and I'll show you. This is what I do for you guys, okay? This is a doona. So it's like pleated, it holds, this has like duck down I think or something in it, and it holds it into little bits. It's quilted. And then you put it in a quilt cover. So we call this a doona and then this a quilt cover, okay? So then when you sleep, oh, it has snaps, yeah. When you sleep, it looks like that, right? We call it a doona, and then you have a quilt cover. Your quilt goes over top of it to protect it, and that's what you wash. You wash the quilt cover and the pillow slips, right? So our doona is called a 4 seasons. So it basically comes in 2 parts. So when it's winter, you click them together. It's such an Aussie word, it is. A doona. Call it a doona cover. Yeah, a doona cover, a quilt cover, doona cover. So, now we're all in. I feel like I should show you what we bought. So, Exceed and I for the last year, we've been using 2 different mismatched quilt covers or doona covers. So they had a sale and I bought 2 of these. So there we can have one each and the bed looks nice. Because we were just putting it, when people came over or I'd make a bed, you just put one on top of each other and that kind of hides it. But now these are really soft doona covers. Great to watch another content creator talking about quilts and beds and foods. I'm just house related, you know? You want to do some DIY? It is, it's nice quality, yeah. It's nice and soft. My laundry manager, aka Exceed, he does all the laundry. He will wash them and then I'll put them on the bed. You both have your own doona. That's so European. The thing is, we started at this time last year because we had COVID and we used to share one and the dogs we have 2 dogs. And the dogs sleep in the middle of us in winter and then it creates this like valley in the middle and then you both have no blanket. So when we had COVID last year, Exceed was like, had a fever and so he was really cold and I was really warm with COVID. So we had a quilt each and we haven't stopped and it is amazing. It is so good because you can like sausage roll yourself with your blanket or like I flick my leg out with my blanket and I don't have to worry, we don't have to worry about us stealing each other's blanket. It's amazing. Seriously, it's the best thing we've ever done for sleeping. Both of us sleep so much better because, you know, you can control your own blanket. It's so good. Trust me. Yeah, I call Exceed the laundry manager, or he calls himself a laundry manager. I do the cooking and we kind of share the house cleaning and Exceed does the laundry. He's just a lot more organized at it. He controls his, how it's done. I am out of sight, out of mind, so I would leave the laundry on the line for a few days and things. I just get distracted, and he's much more organized. So we call him the laundry manager. Yeah, we're very much into sharing everything. We sharing stuff around the house. We all have our chores. Because of Stream, I do the cooking and majority of the cleaning in the kitchen, but he will unpack the dishwasher and whatever. Okay, so into the middle like this, pull up, and then rotate and pinch, okay? Get a little steam hole in there. Beautiful. And then just keep going. I think that's a good idea too. Yeah. I like the idea, very European. I like that, Margot. But it is amazing. It's really, the king size, us both having king size bed, it's probably like a king size quilt is probably unnecessary, but it's because we have what we have. We've got an electric blanket. Do you guys have electric blankets? I don't do fleecy sheets. I get way too hot. I would rather have an electric blanket, which is, I don't know if, maybe it's an Australian thing as well, an electric blanket. But they're so good. Stop. Cake is not done yet. I dream of electric sheep. We used to have one. How many of you don't know what an electric blanket is? Oh, I like the electric throw. That sounds pretty cool. An electric blanket is like a mattress protector. You put it over top and tuck it into your mattress, and then on both sides, you have controllers on both sides. It has like a zigzag pattern, and you plug it in as like an appliance, and it has a timer on it, and you can have heat levels, so like 1, 2, or 3. And it basically it's like a heat pad in your bed. So Exceed is amazing. Like if we're going to, we finish cleaning and we go and watch something like a TV show before we go to bed, he'll turn the electric blankets on, and so that when you get into bed, it's nice and warm. And then you turn them off. Like we don't sleep with them. We turn them off before we go to bed. Because it just that when you get into bed and your bed's really cold in winter and it's gross. And it's really and you got to wear socks and stuff. We have electric blankets to warm the bed up. It's beautiful. They don't last long for me. They die after a few minutes. Oh, wow. We used electric mattress pad for a while. Was nice. Yeah, they're nice. Slipping into a cold bed is my favorite. In summer, it's nice, but not in winter. Yeah, know that one too. Nice, Lady Lara. Never had electric blanket. I've always liked or trusted. The one my dad had when I was growing up was questionable. I understand that. Yeah. The ones now are very safe, and they have shut-offs and stuff like that. Mine doesn't have a timer that you can set. It just turns itself off, or I turn it off when I get too hot. It's like a preheating setting. Or sometimes when I lay in bed and Exceed brings me coffee in the morning, I turn it on just to get myself cozy. But then it's really hard to get out of bed because you're so nice and toasty in there. Okay. So pinch, rotate, pinch, like that. And then just pinch that closed. Beautiful. Keep going. Washing the machine. Mine, I think ours you can detach the remote, but I don't feel comfortable washing it if it's electrics. Yeah, I feel the same. Okay. Pick it up. And easy. So when we fry it like that, and then we fry it on like that, so it's nice and crispy. Very good. But I'll show you again the cheats way, the just as good, easier, quicker way. Just like that. Roll it out. Get your filling. And then all you do is pick up one side to the other, pinch it together. The other side, pinch it together. Ooh. Pinch it together like that. And then do the same thing. So you kind of like a money bag type thing. It doesn't look as good, but it will still be fun. I was expecting the folded bao. Yeah, I thought so. But there's a Sheng bao, so they're pan-fried bao. Bao in Chinese, I think... Hey Google, what does bao mean? The word bao? Yeah, gu bao. I think bao just means bread.
Intestine.
Is that right?
On the website cancer.gov, they say
What?
the long, tube-shaped organ in the abdomen that completes
Stop.
the process of digestion.
Not bowel, bao, B-A-O. I think the word bao just means bread. But if you're celiac, bao, bread, means pain in your bowel. Bun, that's it. Okay, maybe it's bun. Pão, P-A-O, means bread in Portuguese. Bun, thank you, God bowl. Close. All right. Okay, filling. All right, so we've got 2, 4, 6 more to go after this one. So like this, and you can just kind of pinch it. You just bring it in like that, right? Cheats way, proper way. There's not too much difference. Don't stress. At the end of the day, doesn't matter what it looks like, it will taste pretty much the same, okay? So if you don't have to get intimidated by folding like bao or dumplings, you just do them however you do and you get better over time. Don't let that stop you making it because they all taste the same. Like that. Oop. And I'm not the best at it, but I just love this recipe, so good. Just roll it out pretty thin. Hey Ed. So the way that I do it, and I teach you guys, is to grab it like this with your thumb in the middle and your 2 fingers like this, like sitting out like, you know, when you flick your fingers like that, hold your fingers, 3 fingers like that, right? And then the one in the middle, and then you want to lift your index finger up, grab this, pull it, like push it onto your fingernail, lift your fingernail up and press. Keep going, so like that, lift up, pinch, and then we're rotating, so. Keeping your thumb in the middle keeps the steam hole. Pinch it closed. Cool.
Cool. Oh. Pinch, pinch. Beautiful. If you want to keep that there, steam hole, but the reason I pinch it is because we're going to pan fry these and I don't want the filling or the juices to come out, so I just kind of pinch it. Cool. And then cake is looking good, needs more time. Can always rotate it like this and just kind of like pinch the edges so that they're thinner. Cool. Take a little bit this one. Last few. Oh, that was a bit more. Too full, this one. And at the end of the day, you fold them over and you flip them over and you pan fry them. So all your mistakes are hidden. It's like when you make a cake and maybe it's cracked, just cover with icing, no one notices. It'll taste the same. Stress less about cooking. Don't compare yourself to other people. Just have fun with it and it'll just taste nice. Would you ever consider running a comp where winner joins you for a cooked dinner? Yeah, I'd love that. Oh, I'd like to definitely do something like that, but how would that work? They would have to be in Australia or WA. I would love to do in-person cooking events or whatever. Maybe one day, like maybe for like if there's a convention, we would come to town and we would hire out a kitchen and then do like an in-person event. They would have to be true local, didn't think this through, yeah. The other thing is that we don't, for privacy reasons, we stream at our house. So we don't really like disclosing where we live. It would have to be like at a third party location. Yeah. But possibly, like if we were traveling, we would do like at a hotel or like an Airbnb or something. That would be awesome. But yeah, definitely, I'd be definitely keen. So yeah, my idea is, say for instance, like we came over for PAX or we would run events where we would hire a kitchen, do all the groceries. It would cost maybe like $100 per person. You would come to the class, you'd have like a goodie bag, we'd sit down, we get, you know, you guys either can make the food with me or watch me and I could like have people come up and we do a cooking class and then we sit down, we have like some bottles of wine and beer and we sit down and we eat it all together. So if anyone knows how we can do that, that would be my plan. I'd love to be able to travel around and do that in Australia and, you know, the US, doing different in-person cooking events. That's my dream. Because I thrive off seeing body language and getting you guys involved. And like, I love to be able to be like, okay, like pan fry this, taste this sauce. What do you think of that? Like what's going through your head? You know, and I can hands-on like what you need dough and be like, what about this? You know, try this technique. And that's what I love. It's really, I love streaming, but it's really hard like trying to, there's a lot of people in the stream right now, but there's a minimal chat. And that's what a lot of people are engaged. They're watching the stream, but there's not a lot of chat. And so it's hard to like kind of vibe off that. And so I love in-person stuff. Julie Goodwin used to run her own cooking classes every now and then where I live, usually about 30 people. Yeah, that's really cool. I love that. That's epic. Okay. So yeah, for sure. I'm just hoping for like a day where someone's like, I'm an event planner. I'll help you do that. Like, because I've got no idea what to do, where to start. That would be epic. I have to limit my trolling. I have to limit my trolling. It's a personal goal. I know. Why you want? I like your trolling. It's happy trolling. Hey, here, Bengal. Will this recipe up soon? Monday. Yep. I've already taken the photos of it, but I haven't made it on stream for a long time, so I thought perfect opportunity to do it today. No recipe came out this week because I've been a bit snowed under with work and figuring out what to do on the rest, like to release on the website. So it'll be up on Monday. I wonder if high schools will consider renting out their food tech rooms. But then you have to like go to during school hours. It'd be a bit weird with timing and stuff. That's the only thing. Okay. So we're going to set these aside for like 20 minutes so that they can rise a little. And then we're going to get a non-stick fry pan with a tight fitting lid. Place on medium-high heat with oil. You place the buns folded side down. Cook for 1 to 2 minutes before adding some water. With the lid, we're gonna steam them. Then we're gonna uncover it, and then we're going to pan fry them on the other side. Okay? Gotta find what lid works. Rent out classes for local language groups. Okay. Beautiful. Okay. So obviously you'd let them do their thing a little bit longer, but I'm impatient. I think I would probably do well with one of those proofing boxes. I haven't looked into it, but then I can put the dough in there whenever we're making dough and it'd proof at a consistent, constant temperature. And things can hasten a little bit more because I hate proofing dough in winter especially, or like now when it's cooler. Everything just takes so long. All right, grab yourself some water. Okay. Like this. These have been proofing for quite a bit of time. We're gonna go side down, like that. Folded side down. Remember, they're gonna grow a little bit. We don't want them to touch. It's like going back to high school. Everything needs their space to grow. Can you fit more one in? Yeah, let's fit one more. Like that. Beautiful. And we're going to add in a little bit of water. And we're going to put the lid on. Let's go and do some steaming and hopefully some growing. Okay, the next bit. The dipping sauce. All right, so in our house, what we love is a mixture of soy sauce over here, and black vinegar and Szechuan chili oil, okay? Like that. Hello, what's that you started steaming? Sheng bao. So it is Chinese chicken steam buns. The recipe will be on missmollymakes.com, my site, on Monday. Okay. The other thing, so soy sauce. We can go here. Right, so soy sauce in there. This is black vinegar. A little bit of this. Always taste it. Yum. Ooh. And then this is Szechuan chili oil from my website as well. And then you just give it a little bit of a stir. Get a bit of this in here. Look at that. A little bit spicy. Got a little bit of MSG in there. Delish. That's your dipping sauce, okay? The buns, they're looking good. If you're just joining us, welcome in. My name is Molly. We're a cooking stream. We stream Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and today we are on the front page for Australian, New Zealand Twitch for a creative week. So a little bit of an introduction to who we are and what we do is this. Welcome back. Okay. All right. So the last bit is with these buns. Gotta go. See you, Godwell. Thanks for being here. Bit more. Bit more water for steaming, I think. These are using plain flour. If you wanted them really light and white, you can use like a gluten flour, a bleached flour that has low gluten, but we're just using regular plain flour because it's more accessible. Godwell, thanks for being here. Thanks for all your chats. I hope you have a great day. I don't have any more spring onion left or scallion, so we're just gonna use some coriander. Some of this is a bit mucky. I had in the fridge something leaning on putting weight on the coriander or cilantro, and it went a bit gross. Okay, that should be fine. And some red onion. Oh. Oh, my paring knife needs a bit of a sharpen. Go. All right, let's check out these buns. Looking good. Nice and steamy. And in a few minutes, we're just going to flip them over so they're pan fried on both sides. Or you can just do one side. And our apple tea cake is nearly ready to come out of the oven. Oh, that looks good. Okay. Okay. So now they're without. Just give a little drizzle, a little bit of oil. Just going to pan fry them slightly so they're a bit crispy on the bottom. We put a non-stick pan. Like that. Nice. Like I said, you could just leave them and just pan fry them on one side, or you can definitely just do both like that. Yum. And so the steaming not only helps the bread rise and kind of steams and helps it go nice and fluffy, it also helps cook the interior so you don't have like raw inside. The chicken is cooked completely, right? You can serve it like that in the pan is really nice. It's very pretty. Or, where's my, oh goodness. So they look nicer if you pan fry them this side because they kind of look like flowers, whereas that's a bit boring. All right. So I just like this. Whoop. And then we go like that. It isn't great because the steam doesn't get locked in there. So you need to kind of top it up halfway through. Look at these. Oh, what did I do? There we go. Like that. And sesame seeds. Don't they look yummy? Sheng bao. So these are chicken, but you could definitely do pork or whatever you like. Let me just make sure. Yeah. Press the wrong button. That is the filling. Chicken, chili, a little bit of chili, spring onion. Doesn't it look yum? Crispy, fluffy bao. Yes. And then you grab your sauce. Whoa. Mmm. Mmm. Mm-hmm. Delish. Oh. Could use that filling in other ways. You can use the filling in, like with wonton wrappers and make that into wontons. Here's different stuff. Just notice you have a waterfall countertop. I do. Waterfall's on this island bench and the front bit. The kitchen behind, or the scullery behind, I didn't do waterfalls, but I kind of wish that I did. Look at these. So these are perfect for just like it's kind of like a nice alternative to, you know, your gyoza. They're softer, fluffier. Hold on, my camera isn't focusing. There we go. Fluffy on the outside, beautiful filling. And you can do whatever you like with the filling. This is chicken, you can do pork, you can do pork and prawn, pork and scallop. They aren't too difficult at all. A little bit fiddly, a bit time consuming, but You know, we made all of this in like, just waiting for the dough to rise is the long time. And I love these over kind of regular steam buns because they're like pan fried, they're a little bit crispy. A lot of people don't like that fluffy glutinous texture that some steam buns have. Like it's too soft, whereas this kind of gives you a little bit of both worlds. Oh, that chili oil is a bit spicy. What do we think? Will you guys try this? Sheng bao. Oh. Like that. They're hefty boys. Like that. Look at that. Yum. Did you say this what dough was on the website? None of it's on the website yet. It will be on the website on Monday. But I can tell you it now. So 150 mils of water, teaspoon of sugar, 1.5 teaspoons of yeast, a teaspoon of salt, and 250 grams of plain flour or bleached flour if you can get that. Delicious. Hot. It's both spicy and hot. But Szechuan chili oil, which is from the website as well, which I really think you guys should make. The Szechuan chili oil is banging. Spicy, numbing. Oh, it's so good. What's inside besides chicken? So we used 250 to 300 grams of, we used a chicken breast, which was a small chicken breast, 250 grams of ground chicken or ground chicken mince, 3 cloves of garlic, quarter to a third of a cup of spring onion. I used four stalks of spring onion, 2 to 3 teaspoons of ground ginger, freshly grated ginger, sorry, a tablespoon of soy sauce, half a tablespoon of sesame oil. I can't even read my own writing. 1 to 2 teaspoons of Shaoxing Chinese cooking wine, 2 teaspoons of Szechuan oil, which you don't have to put the chili oil in. You can use it as a dipping sauce. Half a teaspoon of corn flour or corn starch, because that's why it's really juicy, like I was saying, but the juice is like kind of thickened because of the corn flour. So it's not, if you see that when I squeeze, see the juice is there, but it's not running out. It's not making the bun soggy because we added that corn starch, corn flour. And then we added some salt. So that's it. Yum. And now, our tea cake. Apple tea cake. Look at that. I made this so I can take a photo of it for the website just to redo it. But that is what it looks like. It is buttery, deliciousness, crisp, that little bit of like crunchy sugar on top. Apples, it is magnificent. Dust it with some powdered sugar if you want. Yum. How many apples? 2. It's on the website already. So MissMellyMakes.com. It is the 1 bowl apple tea cake. This is one of the first recipes I made with my grandma. It's so good. But you can use pineapple, nectarine, peaches, like tin peaches work really great. This is a great recipe to have when you've got people coming over, guests, you want to impress them, you want to have something with like work lunches. like something to make for like school lunches for your kids. Apple, whatever you've got in the pantry, it works really well. It's like butter, sugar, eggs, 2 eggs, baking powder, plain flour, vanilla, and like that's it, and apples. So it's really, really versatile. Those bao, can't wait to make them. I love that. Anything on MissMollyMakes.com will impress your friends and coworkers. Thank you. Thanks, Dex. What do we think? Apple tea cake and bao. Yum. I'm so excited for these. These are going to be our nice lunch. Speaking of making with other people, made a Swiss roll with my niece. I got her trained to weigh dry ingredients like a year ago. Discovered the time she doesn't know how to zero the scale. So she was constantly under measuring. Oh my gosh. But if she turned it on once, she was, oh my gosh. Possibly she was already, it was already zeroed when she turned it on, maybe? Okay. So, I'll wipe this clean so I can show you. So see how it comes out clean there? Like there's stuff, a little bit of stuff on there. But if I go like right in the center, see how it comes out like mostly clean? No, this is not gonna work. Danger, danger. Like that, see how it's mostly clean? As the cake cools down, it's gonna firm up and it's gonna finish. So you want it mostly clean like that. So because in the center, it's gonna be less done than the side. So if the side is done, comes out clean, the cake, if that's what it's like in the center, the cake's overcooked. Make sense? She always texts me and asks me why the soupier, oh, okay. That's good. That's good that you know. All right. What is your DOTD? Dish of the day. Are you bao or are you team apple tea cake? I'm sorry, I'm not going to take the cake out of, or I'm going to cut it because I want to take a photo of it. But I will put it in Discord and I'll do Instagram stories. Are you team bao or are you team apple tea cake? If you're new to the stream, hit the follow button, come and hang out with us 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Our next stream I'm very excited for. It was an idea by Roselli. The coronation is this weekend. And so we thought we'd have a fun British theme stream. So we're going to be making some British bangers and mash, Yorkshire pudding. I was going to make the apple tea cake on Monday. So I'm going to have to find something else, another British dessert. Because I was actually meant to make something else today, and I left that Friday, but I made it today anyway. But British food on Friday. And then I go on a week holiday. No streaming. I'm staying home, but I'm having a stream break. Never had either one, but if I had to choose, would be the chicken bao. Nice. Dex, do you think that you would make them? Do you think I could set you up for success and you could halve the recipe and make them yourself? What do you think? I'll take both. Cake, but okay, only just. I would do a spotted dick. I don't like dried fruit. I'm not that, what do you mean? I think you could easily make these, my man. Come on, let's try. Let me help you. Let me step you through it. Look at these buns. Look how fluffy these are. Is that fluffy? Yes. Those bao do look nice. Nah, cool. Maybe, what is a British dessert? Sponge cake? Maybe we do my sponge, Victoria sponge. Maybe that's the plan. So it seems as though a lot of you just want both of what I'm cooking today. Bao and cake. Trifle is quite British. I hate trifle. I know I'm yucking. I'm looking for your suggestions and I'm negating them all. But I think truffle would be nice. I'm not a massive fan of to eat it, but we do like mini ones. I do like truffle, but there's at Christmas time my mum makes it, but it's just like it's not on my love list. But it's not about me. It's about Britain on Friday. I need to shush. Top 10 worst desserts. Steam pudding, what's a Battenberg cake? Battenberg cake. Never heard of it. Okay. English. Oh, cheeky lock. I like that. It's checkered. A Battenberg cake is checkered. Light cake system, alternating coloured squares of Genoese sponge coated with an exterior of apricot jam, almond paste. Oh, and it's bad? That's interesting. I would have thought that would have been good. Interesting. Okay. Now, should we send you off over to Dundee cake? It's a fruit cake with almonds on top. I don't do dried fruit. I don't do anything other than, like, I make it for Exceed hot cross buns, but I don't really like sultanas or raisins. I'm picky. I'm sorry. Keep the suggestions coming though. Ew, fruit cake. All right, let's go over to Bajo. Bajo is, I think he's about to play Star Wars. So, guys. Full English bangers and mash, British food in it. Go on, Exceed. We're making British food. It's the last day before I go on holidays for a week. I'm gonna have some time away from you and some time to just sleep and relax. But let's make Friday a good one. It'll be a lot of fun. Bangers and mash, full English breakfast. I'm gonna show you what a full English is. And we're gonna make some yumminess, okay? Copy and paste a raid call message. Thank you everyone for being here. Thank you for the subs, resubs, and gifted subs. Look at that, I didn't press thanks for watching. Stace, thank you for 17 months resub, and W. Kelly, thank you for the 10 months. Thank you for you two for contributing to today's channel, today's stream. Guys, I hope you have a great rest of your week, and I will see you on Friday. Take care, brush your hair, be good to yourself and those around you. Let's go see Bajo. Bajo's playing Star Wars, I think. So copy and paste this, say hello to him, and I will see you on Friday. Bye. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for the mods, for your support. Bye.